Menifee is actually the second safest city in the whole county. Most people don't even know that, because it was the 7th most booming town in the nation.
Let's say it was you and you're investing your own money. Which one would you pick?
Oh, why you got to do this to me? This is one thing I always tell people is don't try to time the market. Time your life.
That was great. Such a good answer. So, Jonathan, what would be your advice to somebody who's looking to buy their first home in the area right now?
Okay, my advice, if someone's looking for their first home in their area, I have a lot of advice.
Hi, I'm Heather Lipson, and if you're looking to find out more about what's going on in Menifee and the surrounding areas, you can follow me on Instagram at MenifeeXP.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Hernandez. If you're looking for more information on real estate news, updates to the local area in the Inland Empire, you can go ahead and follow my Instagram, Jonathan H. SoCal, as well as TikTok, Jonathan H. SoCal, where I give you guys local updates.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Voices of the Valley. I'm Heather Lipson, and I'm here today with Jonathan Hernandez, who is a local market expert in the Inland Empire. Jonathan, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me, if you were buying a home in Menifee today, with the knowledge that you have, where would you look? And what would be the things that you would look for?
I'm going to answer with this. It really depends on you and your lifestyle. What is it that you're looking for? All right. So usually when we help people relocate to Menifee, we ask them a series of questions. So it all depends on your lifestyle, but I can never go wrong with, look, Audie Murphy Ranch, great neighborhood. So if anybody knows about Audie Murphy, amazing bunch of amenities, as well as Heritage Lakes, another big community with a lot of amenities. Then truthfully, there's also things like, hey, if you're looking to move to Menifee and you're not really looking for lifestyle, you're kind of more looking for a deal, because that's what majority of people in today's world, unfortunately, is looking for, is a good deal and interest rates and buy downs and closing costs. Then I would say currently in the market, there's a community called Legato with Lennar Homes. It's kind of North Menifee, right off McCall, that does offer you those nice incentives. So it really depends on you, your lifestyle, and what it is you're looking for in a home. So if you're looking for deals and incentives, Legato's a place for you. If you're looking for more like community and you're looking for more amenities, Heritage Lakes is amazing. Audie Murphy Ranch is amazing. And everybody knows these areas. Town Center too. So those homes there are a little bit more closer together, but it's right next to the country marketplace. So it's really convenient where you can just like leave your house and you can walk to the country marketplace and go on the walking trail, right? And then they're also building that new amphitheater and the bridge that I think you saw my video about. So, I mean, convenience there. So those are like the 3 or 4 areas. Really just depends on your lifestyle. I mean, that's the best way that I can really answer that.
Okay, but let's say it was you and you're investing your own money. Which one would you pick?
Oh, see, me, why you got to do this to me? So with me, I am in today's market, I'm probably going to look for the deal. So I'm probably going to look for an amazing interest rate. And that means I'm going to get a brand new home, because you're not getting an amazing interest rate on older homes. And really, you could only get it on brand new. So I would probably choose Legato, because I still know they're going to have amenities. They're going to have a pool park, trails, etc. And I know I can probably save myself close to $1,000 a month on my monthly mortgage. So that's going to play into a big factor.
Right. So you're getting that value, and you're also kind of getting that investment too, as it's a newer community.
Especially long term.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I like it.
Okay, hopefully.
So, Jonathan, what would be your advice to somebody who's looking to buy their first home in the area right now?
Okay, my advice, if someone's looking for their first home in their area, what you're saying is they're first-time home buyers, I have a lot of advice for first-time home buyers, to be quite honest with you. But first and foremost, find someone that's really competent in the real estate industry, and find a really good real estate agent that can explain the process. That's first and foremost, is you need someone who can explain the process to you from A to Z, so you know what you're getting yourself into, right? And then once you find that person, really figure out what it is you're looking for in that area, right? Like niche down, talk about beds, baths, square feet, if you want a big yard, if you don't, if you want amenities, if you don't, and then really try to find those things. And then you really gotta this is one thing I always tell people. is don't try to time the market. Time your life. Okay, because what happens is most people are trying to time the market and they're trying to find the best deal and they're trying to make sure, hey, I'm going to get it at the lowest I can because the market's going up and down. Okay, you're never going to win. I'm just going to say that. There's an old saying in real estate, the best time to buy a home is yesterday, right? Because you can never time the market. Like the people that try are always fail. Let's look at the guys that what happened in 2018 and 19. And, all those guys are like, oh, I'm going to time the market. It's going to crash again. 2020 happened. Hyperinflation just took off. And now 5 years later, houses are still high. Like, yeah, we've took dips here and there throughout the years, but you're never going to win. So don't try to time it. But if you're looking, let's say 6 to 12 months out, okay, I always recommend this. If your timeline is 6 to 12 months, still go out with your agent and go look at homes or look at communities in Menifee. That way you already know exactly what it is that you want. So when the time comes in 6 months to 12 months, you're not trying to cram everything up together and you're stressing yourself out and you're freaking out and you hate the experience and it's not fun. And then you don't want to buy because you're trying to cram everything. Like, go at least once a month, once every other month, and just go identify different communities, different neighborhoods, what you'd like, what you don't. So when the time comes and you are ready, you already know this is the spot I want to buy a home in. So that's a whole lot right there for this one question. So different types of tips, but that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it's really good advice. I think that it helps when you do that upfront work.
Yeah.
So that once you get to that, because I've been through the process of buying my first home. I
Right.
bought my first home in Menifee.
Oh, nice.
And I bought it from out of state. So I had that extra, like, I couldn't just go and look at houses.
Yeah.
It was one of those, my husband got a job transfer and we just had to go with it. And not to mention, it was also during the pandemic. So there was no traveling.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that would be the same type of advice I would probably tell myself if I could go back is,
Right.
and that is what we did. We looked for a good few months because he had enough warning with his job transfer that
Right.
we were able to look, okay, this is where, and I did so much research on the area,
I bet.
what neighborhoods are good. And our kid was about to be going into elementary school. So that was a factor in our purchase of a home. And so that there really isn't there isn't a set limit on when you can start prepping, even if you
Right.
think it might not be possible today, 6 months to a year. If that's when you want, that's when your goal is, it's a great idea to go ahead and start looking and start planning out. This is exactly what I want. Because there's always going to be compromises.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to want the best deal with also all the amenities, with the best schools, but you need to figure out on your list ahead of time, this is what's most important. And then your agent can work with you on that, on helping you find the 5 most important things.
Mhm.
That way you're happy with your purchase long term.
You did it the smart way, and most people don't do it that way, right? Most people are just so fixated on like, I want a house, I want a house, I want a house, and they miss all the steps. And more often than not, I actually meet people that are just like that, and they're working with previous, agents, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's kind of crazy when I meet all these people and they don't know what they're actually doing. All they know is they've told me, hey, Jonathan, we've already seen 10 homes. Okay, great. What in those homes did you like? I don't know. We just kind of went to go see random homes. Okay, so you don't even really know just yet. Like, but you don't know. Right. And then you don't really know the process. So you're skipping ahead and then you're kind of jumbling around. And so you did it the right way. And most people just get super excited to see the homes that they're just forgetting about the rest of the early things that you need to take care of. So, I mean, kudos to you. And that's crazy that you bought out of state. I mean, some people do that sight unseen. I don't know. Did you see your house before you bought it?
We saw it over FaceTime. With our agent.
Oh, wow. Well,
I
guess, COVID time.
Yeah, COVID. So my husband did have to come out for a work trip at some point,
right.
But we were already in escrow. So we already purchased the home. We were already in it. So, and luckily when he walked through, he was like, no, it's better than what we had thought. Like, it's better than what we expected.
That's kind of crazy. The only people that we really do that with is military people, right? People that need a PCS from wherever. And so that's crazy that you guys did that as well.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. And we've been extremely happy. We've been there for 5 years now, and we have no intention of moving anytime soon. So we are definitely, we were very blessed with how it all worked out, but it is overwhelming when you hit that stage and it's like, okay, now we're ready. We have, the savings built up. We have the opportunity to buy a home. Now we're actually in the process of doing it. All those emotions come up because it's a permanent decision for most people.
100%.
For us, it's like we wanted this to be the house that our kid was raised in, the place where he went to, elementary, middle, high school. And so we had to look at not just the home itself and the features in the home, but everything about the lifestyle.
It's a 30-year commitment.
It is.
It's a 30-year commitment. So that kudos to you. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
You bought probably the best, but the worst time, like the most hectic time, but you did it. So congratulations.
Yeah. And we still have that 2% interest rate.
Yeah.
We'll never
you're not going to sell. You're not selling anytime soon.
Not
ever.
anytime soon. No.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. So my next question is going to be when you're working with a client and they're looking at houses kind of all over the Inland Empire, but they pick a house in Menifee. What are some examples of reasons why somebody would pick Menifee over a neighboring city?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. The number one reason is affordability. All right. Affordability in comparison to all the surrounding cities nearby, but also safety. Right. So safety does have a factor to play into this, and as well as future growth, because majority of the people that buy Menifee kind of look at the future growth and know, like myself, that it is going to be a great town to buy in for long term. Right. So if you're in this for the long term, this is amazing. Even if you're not and you want somewhere to be short term, like it's still a great investment. It's still a great place to be in, a community to be in. But affordability, like when you're looking at Temecula or Marietta, even Wildomar now, our prices are great. Like that's why I moved from Marietta to Menifee, because I have a bajillion kids, right? 5 kids. And when I lived in Marietta and we wanted to get a bigger home, we got priced out. It was insane. So I'm like, do I really want to spend $850,000 for a nice 5-bedroom with a decent, yard, et cetera, when I got a house literally 13 minutes away from my house in Marietta, and it's a 5-bedroom, quarter-acre lot, and we have a beautiful pool. It's a big home for almost $200,000 less. So it's just like, yeah, the affordability aspect of it is one of the biggest things. And to be quite honest, you're still not even that far from Marietta and Temecula. Like, we still go to the movie theaters in Marietta. All right. Shout out to Cal Oaks. Everybody knows that movie theater. We love to go there. And it's like a 15-minute drive, right? We still go to the mall in Temecula, of course, in the wineries and, some of the nightlife out there. But it's not more than like a 30-minute drive, right? Unless it's like crazy traffic. But still, it's still a short distance and you can just bounce around. So when you guys are looking at it, affordability is the biggest thing. And then safety. When we're looking at safety here in like the Temecula Valley and really from Riverside to Corona down, Menifee is actually the second safest city in the whole county. And most people don't even know that. So you have Marietta, number one, and Marietta's always been like the top 10 in the nation. And so they're still up there. And then crazy enough, it's Menifee second. And then people would assume it's Temecula, but it's not. It actually goes Wildomar, then Temecula. And people are like, what? How does that make any sense? Well, when you think about Temecula, right, they have a nightlife. They have bars. They have things where people can get drunk. They can get crazy. And then, statistics can actually just drive up. So, yeah, when you think about it that aspect, like, yeah, it makes sense, right? So schools, okay, when we're talking about schools too, they're not bad. But they're not amazing like we have some of the schools in Marietta and Temecula. But they're still really, really good. So when you put all of that into factor and not even talking about the actual growth that Menifee can have long term, because it was the 7th most booming town in the nation, right? And it's actually still the number 1 most booming town in all California. So when you look at that long-term growth, right, and then you're investing into this area in Menifee, like you can really make something of yourself where you can build something long-term for your kids. Like think about where Temecula was, 20, 30 years ago, or let's say 30 years ago before they even had the mall, right? Like there was not a whole lot going on. Like Menifee 20, 30 years ago, absolutely nothing. It was like sack of potato lands and, like bee farms. And now look at it where you have all these homes and they're building infrastructure left and right. They got the Bradley Bridge coming. It's like $60 million investment. They got the Holland Bridge overpass that they just, did. I love that overpass. It was actually released on my birthday. That's fun. And then they got another overpass going to be coming. No, I'm sorry. This is going to be interchange on Garbani. So if you're not familiar, so Garbani Road is going to have an actual interchange so you can get an on and off ramp. So the infrastructure is slowly coming to try to meet up with the demand, but long term, it's going to be such a great investment. And I'm so happy with my purchase. And like I told you, the way that I explain Menifee is actually a really large city that has a really small town feel. And I love it because I don't have the traffic like I did when I lived in Temecula, when I lived in Murrieta. And I'm conveniently located to, my everyday wants and needs. My shopping is like 5 minutes away. So I'm away from like Lowe's is where I live. And, the lady loves to go to Ulta and Target. And so, it's still like 5 to 7 minute drive. So I think that's why a lot of people do factor that in. And they just look at long term how much they can get bang for their buck. And then you add the safety and you add some of the schools, the long term growth. It just makes sense for most people.
Man, that's a good answer.
Is that
was
great?
Such a good answer. I'm impressed with how you are able to rattle off some of these things too. Because I wasn't even thinking about the Garbani interchange and all the infrastructure and how Temecula used to be very similar, right?
Yeah.
Probably 20 years ago to where Menifee is now, and how we can use that as an example of like, oh, this is what we're investing in. This is what we're getting when we sign up for buying a home in Menifee. And that's a really like great way, I think, to explain it. And it goes right into my next question, which is going to be looking at us. So you just said it, we are #1 boomtown in California. How do you see that playing out in the future? Do you think that we're going to continue to just be a boomtown going forward, or I'm talking in the future, 10 years from now, 15 years from now? What do you see Menifee looking like?
That's a great question. I see Menifee being the second largest city in all the county.
Really?
That is what I realistically think, right? With the amount of builds that we're doing right now it's Riverside, right? It's the crown of the county right now, just the largest city. And then you have Corona. Corona sits around 100 and maybe 60 to 70,000 people, right? Population wise. They're pretty much tapped out, right? Unless you're going to that south side of Corona, right, where it's like Temesco Valley and stuff like that. Menifee, we have the land to build. And I remember when I used to research Menifee was in like the top 10 most zone residential land in the entire nation. So the amount of houses that could come and be brought into Menifee is insane. So Menifee even talks about it. The city even talks about it, that in 10 years, it is going to be the second largest city because the economic boom and the growth and the population, people coming here, it's going to be massive. So that's actually a long stretch. I'm not going to lie. 10 years, 100,000 people. That's like 10,000 people a year. Mm-hmm. That's a long stretch, but I do think that this is going to be a really, really large city. And then the infrastructure is definitely going to have to follow because there's not a whole lot going on. We know this in regards to like entertainment. So when we had that movie theater that they've been talking about for like 2 decades and then it didn't happen because of COVID, they lost funding and then they tore it down and they demolished it. And we're like, what now? Mm-hmm. Right? What are we going to do in Menifee? So I research everything that's kind of going in regards to entertainment, in regards to stores, retail, yada, yada. There's not a whole lot that I see now, but where that country marketplace is right now, where you have the Target and the Lowe's. Mm-hmm. I know that everyone always talks about it. City always talks about that whole long Han Road, like that whole stretch is like 1.5 miles. I don't even know, but that they plan to build all of that, and if they do, that would be some great space to build entertainment, to build mm-hmm. more stores. Mm-hmm. They could do an outdoor mall. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that would be a great stretch because when people drive through that 215 and they're going north or south and they just see this, country marketplace. And then after that, it's nothing but just raw land for, 2 miles. And you're like, what's going to go here? Mm-hmm. Right. That's so much land that you can build on. And people have no idea. Like, if you think about it this way, that whole stretch of land, maybe 10% is taken up by the countryside marketplace, just like 10%. And we know this, if you've been in that place is actually pretty big. It has some big retail stores. So imagine that times 10 or, times 9, right? So there's a lot to build in Menifee. So in 10 years from now, this is going to be a big city. Like I do believe that. Mm-hmm. And so that's my belief. I don't know if, people don't want that to happen. Mm-hmm. People want more entertainment, but more growth is good for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And there's definitely got to be the people there before the businesses choose to come, right? Because somebody has to spend their money. So I think we're kind of hitting that pivotal like turning point where it's like we're still building the houses, but the city is, the residents, I should say, they're crying out for, let's slow down some of the development because we still want our recreational hiking trails. We still want our entertainment. Like, where's that movie theater and that bowling alley that we were supposed to get? And as we see that stuff catch up, I really think it's going to be a really good blend. It's going to catch up. Yeah. It's just that with that boomtown happening, it does feel, especially I moved here in 2020. So it's been booming the whole time I've been here. And a lot of people moved to Menifee between that time and now. Yeah. And they're saying, when is it going to stop? Like, is this just always the way it's going to be? And I think when you go to the city and you hear their plans and you hear about some of these things that are coming to Menifee, you're like, oh, it's kind of like that breath of fresh air. Like, oh, we have this 400 acres of land that the city's now preserved for recreational hiking, right? We have that Menifee Hills project. We have more parks coming. Like, there's like 10 different parks that the city's planning on putting in over the next couple of years, as well as the housing. Yeah. And then there's all these businesses, you announced Dutch Bros is going to be coming to Menifee. That's just one of like dozens of businesses that are looking to come to Menifee, not to mention all the like small mom and pop shops that are trying to get real estate locations, brick and mortar locations. Menifee actually is really well known for having like these really amazing food truck. We have our food truck festivals, these places that they're wanting to get into brick and mortar, but they're just waiting for that stuff to catch up. And waiting for that, for the ability to fund it too, because, it's not exactly cheap to get a brick and mortar business.
It's not.
So, yeah.
I don't think people understand that. It takes time to actually build. Mm-hmm. So, like, when I look at these new communities that always get put in, they don't just happen overnight. They've been planned for 3+ years before they even get put in. Mm-hmm. So, and this is, for homes, it's going to be a little bit easier for commercial, but it does take time. Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of money. So we gotta, the city of Menifee has to make sure that the funding is there. Mm-hmm. So that's something people, don't really think about. They just want this, like right now. Like, I want that. I live there and I want that now. Like, I want my movie theater. I'm tired of driving 17 minutes to Marietta. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. I'll wait because I know long term we'll have all this entertainment and all this good infrastructure.
Yeah. And in the meantime, it's not that big. Like you said, it's not that big of a deal to drive to Temecula or Marietta for some entertainment. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think you've really made me feel good about my investment. About choosing.
Hope so, because I'm there too.
Because, we talked a little bit before this about how you've been all over Southern California. You know all the different counties, all the different areas. And so it's nice to hear that you also own a home in Menifee because when I moved here, I didn't know anything about Southern California. Never stepped foot in the state before. And so all of my research was based off of what I could find on the internet. It's like, okay, let's look for a place that has decent housing prices, has decent schools, is, family friendly, but also like the biggest thing for me was like, I wanted to make sure that we were going to be in a safe area. Right. And that's where Menifee really it hit all those boxes. Yeah. And so, so I feel good about my
that's good.
purchase after talking.
And I'm trying to be really non-biased about this too, because obviously, I live in Menifee, so I'm definitely, it's going to sound like I want to boast it up to make it seem like something great. Mm-hmm. But no, this is literally what the research shows. This is what the study shows, because that's what I do is I research the areas because I've, like I told you, I've lived in 4 out of the 5 counties in Southern California. So I'm originally from LA, but I lived in Orange County. I've lived in San Diego. Now I've been in Riverside County for years. And a lot has to do because I was in the military. And when I look at LA and when I look at Orange County, like LA, like I loved my city, right? Because I'm from there, but Lord, I would not want to be in LA. It's just so crowded. There's nothing there. Like there's nothing to build there anymore. There's just no land available. You look at Orange County, it's just so overpriced. It's beautiful, don't get me wrong. And I love Orange County and I love the beaches and I love the people, but it's really for the ultra wealthy. Like if you're not making a minimum 250 grand, you're not living okay. Like you need to make actually more than that to live in Orange County. And then you look at San Diego, beautiful sunny San Diego, right? And they do have a little bit more land than or I will say Orange County and LA County, but again, affordability. San Diego at one point in the past 5 years actually became the most unaffordable city in the whole nation, because that's how popular it's getting. That's how fast it was growing. And then the average price out there like jumped up to be over 900,000. So it's insane. So that's why, you know, you look at Riverside County, and Riverside County was the third fastest growing county of the nation, because guess what? Everyone from all the surrounding counties were like, we can't afford to live here. So let's go to Riverside County, and let's go to Temecula, Marietta, and then Menifee. And they're like, it's not that bad, right? Everybody's scared about the heat, and everybody's scared about this and that or the other. And they get here and they're like, actually, this is really nice. It's actually really safe. They actually have good schools.
I can actually afford groceries.
Right. I can actually afford my groceries. I can actually afford to go on a vacation. And I can have a nice, beautiful house and a nice yard. I can have a pool. My kids can grow up, right? So that's me trying to be really non-biased. But when I look at the facts, like, hey, I look at the facts and I look at the statistics. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be people that are going to argue with you and fight with you. Like, hey, this place is better. This place is better. I'm not saying they're not, right? But when I look at things and my lifestyle, my family, like your lifestyle and your family, this is great.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, for sure. So, Jonathan, tell me a little bit about the current market.
All right. So when you ask the current market, like, are we talking about just Southern California or just in general?
I'd say Southern California. People looking to buy a home or sell a home in this market that we have right now.
All right. So if you're like most people think that we're headed for a crash, right? Because it's all gloom and then doom and then this and that or the other. This is a tough one. Okay. So usually I get, hey, what do you think is the real estate market going to crash? Right. And as much as I want it to, right, and I want things to correct, do I feel and do I think that the real estate market's going to crash, especially here in Southern California? No, right? A lot of people don't really understand how this works and how the market works. So I want people to know this. We are probably in one of the most interesting markets we've ever been in the history of mankind. So anybody that says we've been here before in 2008, we've been here in 2000, we've been here in the late 80s or the 70s, right? We haven't. This is an interesting time in the market where we've never actually seen where we've been in. And so people are trying to compare this to 2008, right? Like homes are super inflated, which I'm not arguing that they're not pretty high, right? And interest rates are a little bit high, but there's big differences from 2008 until today that most people don't realize. Let's go back to 2008 and let's look at the average credit score of a person buying in 2008. Back in 2008, the average credit score was low 620s, right? So basically, if you could fog a mirror, right, and basically you could breathe, you could get a home. Like literally, you could get a home because the lending practices they weren't strict. They sucked. Well, let's look at that. So anyone could buy a home. And let's look at the inventory, right? Let's look at the homes on market. Back in 2006, 7, and 8, the inventory was so high. So the way that we look at the real estate market, we go by months of inventory, okay? So just to put it in perspective, a neutral market, we have about 5 to 6 months of homes at any given time for sale in a neutral market. What does that mean? If I have 5 to 6 months of homes for sale during this time, if no homes came on the market tomorrow, in 5 to 6 months, all those homes would be sold. That's what that means, right? Well, that's in a neutral market. But in 2006, 7, and 8, we had 11 months, 10 to 11 months of inventory of homes for sale in the market, right? So the supply and demand, right? There was so much supply during that time, not enough demand to keep up, right? Today, well, let's do COVID. COVID, right? COVID, we had about 1 month of inventory, 1.5, especially in Southern California. Today, we're sitting about 4 to 5 still. So it's an interesting time because technically we still have low inventory, right? But interest rates are high and things kind of slow down. And people think like, oh, the market is going to crash. The market's going to crash. Well, what you don't know, because you don't do your research, from mid-2022 to mid-2023, guess what? We've had a price correction nationwide about 10 to 12% already. And people are like, what? Like, we've already seen a correction. You're just not paying attention.
Okay.
Right? So what happened, what really got us here was that 2006, 7, 8, and 9, right? If you look at that time when the market crashed, right? Home builders, they stalled out. They stopped building for about 6 to 7 years. So from like that 2008 to 2015, nobody was building homes. in America. Like very few builders were actually building homes, and that's a problem. So we stopped building homes for all these years, and then 2015 comes around and we actually start ramping building up, right? So if you look from 2008 to 2015, there's not a lot of new homes built, right? But from 2015 to 2020, we start ramping up, and then guess what happens? 2020, March of 2020, COVID, the world shuts down. And so what happens? The Feds lower interest rates to the lowest they've been in the history of mankind. You're getting 2.25% interest rate to buy a home. Like literally you have free money to go buy a house. And it's so insane when you put it into comparison to today, but you have free money basically to go buy a house. So anyone and everyone can go qualify and buy a home during the 2020 pandemic time. But remember, we stopped building homes from 2008 to 2015. So we're kind of behind, and we were trying to keep up from 2015 to 2020. We were trying to ramp up. Then 2020, everything stops. And then an influx of buyers comes into the market because 2% interest rates come. So we have low inventory, and then this huge wave of buyers comes into the market, and they just start inflating home prices, right? This is where you had people overbidding 25, 50, 100K, 150K, 200K for a home. We had a listing that had 82 offers on it. 82 offers, and it sold for 150,000 above asking because there was just so much demand, right? Like I said, months of inventory during that 2020 pandemic time, about 1 to 1.5. So during that time, you had like 30 buyers for every one home that was for sale. It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. So we basically ramped up all these home prices for about 2 years. And then they realized, oh my gosh, inflation is taking off. Things are becoming unaffordable. We need to slow this down. So what did they do? They raised rates in about early 2022. And then they really raised rates from like 3% all the way to like 6 to 7%. Like I want to say it was 2022, like December, rates almost pushed 8%. So what did that do? That stalled the market completely. Like nobody from 2022 to mid 2023, not a lot of people were buying, and people don't know that we've already had a price correction that dropped nationwide 10 to 12%. 10 to 12%. So in that mid 2023, everybody's getting accustomed. Okay, 6% interest rates are here. They don't look like they're going away, right? We might as well just keep on buying, right? Because people still have to move, and they'd rather buy than rent. So people are getting used to these interest rates now. So from 2023, mid 2023 to now, we've kind of slowly been going back up, right? And now we've hit a little pivot point where we're just like, are these rates going to go down or are they not? Right. With this administration, they're really pushing for rates to come down. But right now, the current state is like we've kind of stalled out a little bit. Right. So if you missed that window in that mid 2022 to 2023, where you could have saved 10%, I bought right at the middle of 2023. I didn't time it. So again, I didn't time it. It just happened naturally. And I actually bought at the low. And I've built equity in the past 2.5 years that I've bought my house in Menifee. And what people don't really understand is like you just can't time these things. But when you look at the market, again, I always tell people like you just have to be careful because you just never know what you don't know. So I can tell you guys like, hey, it's not a good time to buy. And the next thing you know, houses are going to ramp back up because interest rates start dropping back down. We still have low inventory. So guess what? We have low inventory here and rates are still high, but imagine they drop from 6 to 4 with low inventory. Guess what's going to happen to home prices again? They're going to slowly start climbing up again because there's just more buyers added to the market. And again, that's what people don't really understand is, the state of the market, it is what it is, but you can still find deals. So that's why I say like, hey, go to new construction, especially in this area of Menifee. We are blessed that we do have homes that are being brand new because builders, they're hurting. They're seeing the slowdown a little bit. So what are they doing? They're trying to incentivize people to buy their homes. So they're giving those 3.99s, 4.99s, 2-1 buy downs where you can get a 1.99 for the first 2 years. Like we just had one of our clients do that with 1.99, and then it goes to a 2.99, and then it goes to a 30-year fix of a 3.99. So you'll be stuck at a 3.99 for the rest of your life, right? Compared to if you go to the market today, you're going to get 6%. Right? Yeah. That's a big difference. But Menifee and the surrounding area, it can get you that. So when you look at the state of market, we're a little stalled out, right? But come next summer, when the current Fed that's in office right now, gets replaced, you better believe their goal is to drop rates. Now, hopefully they don't do it quickly, right? Because that's going to lead to hyperinflation all over again. Hopefully they do it slowly, but we are optimistic about interest rates. Like everyone is optimistic about rates going down. And so for the people that have bought in the past 2 to 3 years and you have a high interest rate, like hopefully you can hold it off for another year because they're definitely optimistic about interest rates going. I have a 6.25 and I'm one of you guys. Like I have a 6.25. I bought 2.5 years ago. I don't have anything sexy. So, hey, look, if you have that and you can hold off, like then do it because I'm telling you, rates will come down. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Right now, if they go up, we're all done. Right? Like we're all done. That's all I can say. But I don't believe that's going to happen. So,
and that's why it's important to have a real estate agent who knows what they're doing, because some of the stuff I'm tracking with you and some of it I'm hearing for the first time. And it's eye-opening to hear some of the things, you know, and how I have heard people compare what's happening now to 2008. And, you know, I don't give it much thought, but the way you just explained it, it's like, yeah, no, I see the difference.
Yeah. Because you have to be in the market. Most people are not in the market, right? They're just like, I read this on realtor.com or I read this on Bloomberg or Yahoo News, right? So it's one of those things is like, hey, you know, you have to really be in the market to really understand it and kind of know it and actually talk to the people that are really deep into it to kind of get a real expectation of like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right. So that's what it is.
Yeah. Very good. Well, thank you for answering that question.
Absolutely.